Baxter Springs as the man wanted turns up in Springfield.
But our cloud cover may actually be a good thing. Now it's going to bring us rain. Perhaps keeps us out of the way of severe weather. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And cyber experts are watching Russia closely. Why they say the average American should be concerned.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A man wanted in Cherokee County for attempted murder is arrested after a police chase in Springfield, Missouri. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes. What started as an attempt to pull over a suspected drunk driver leads to the arrest of Shawn Houston, the suspect in a Baxter Springs shooting early Monday morning. Last night, a Greene County Sheriff's deputy tried to pull over the driver of an SUV for suspicion of drunk driving. The driver took off, and deputies used spike strips to stop the car. According to the Greene County Sheriff, during the chase, the driver switched places with the passenger. The woman who deputies found behind the wheel is also in custody. 38-year-old Shawn Houston was in the SUV. He's now being held at the Greene County Jail on a number of charges in Missouri and for a warrant out of Kansas for attempted second-degree murder. That charge stems from a shooting west of Baxter Springs early Monday morning. Cherokee County Sheriff David Grove says emergency medical personnel transported a male victim to a Joplin area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. During their investigation, detectives identified Houston as a suspect. The staff at the Joplin R8 School District will soon see a little extra green in their paychecks. Board members met Tuesday to approve an updated agreement with the employees' bargaining units. Both groups, the Joplin National Education Association and the Joplin Education Support Professionals, have been fighting for pay increases. The amount of the increase will depend on how long the employee has worked at the school.
The main goal is our students, and our working conditions are their learning conditions, so we want to make sure that we have the best opportunity for everyone. So when they approved our ratified agreement tonight, what they basically said is that we approve all the working conditions and our CBA or our bargaining agreement plus our salary schedule.
Raises for bus drivers, custodians, and maintenance workers are good through June 30th of 2023. For teachers, librarians, and counselors, those raises will last until June 30th of 2024. Well, keep your rain jackets handy. We're going to need them for the next few days.
A couple days ago on the morning show, I was making fun of some of the terminology that you see pop up in weather, and one of those being diurnal heating. Do you remember that?
That was this morning.
I said it's merely when things heat up in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a fancy, diurnal heating is the phrase, but it's a fancy way of saying when things heat up in the afternoon, because that causes the instability. Guess what cloud cover prevents us from doing? Warming up too much. That's why we've had spotty showers right now, but we've been able to avoid the first round of severe weather. And there's that definitive line of cloud cover that stretches all the way west toward Wichita. So even though we're seeing heavy rain right now through the central portion, south central area of Missouri, and it's got a fair share of lightning as well, any of the rain that we did see, we avoided the hail that actually did pop this morning as it moved east of our counties. We're seeing a little bit of rain come down. Let's remove our cloud cover here, even though it is very, very important, but we see some showers coming down there right along the northern portion of the 4 states on the Kansas-Missouri state line. But for the most part, and we've got several more rounds to go, we've been okay, anywhere from about a quarter to a tenth of an inch of precipitation, so not a whole lot picked up so far. We do have wind advisories in effect all the way until 7 o'clock tonight as it continues to work in, at least from the south, giving us some warmer temperatures than what we had earlier, but we're doing that right now at around 25 miles per hour. But like I said, it's merely round one. So as we get into tonight and everything continues to move east, we get a little bit of a respite, but now Thursday, especially right here when we begin to pick up with the storms that work in from the south, Thursday could get a little bit more interesting. Got pockets every now and then that drop in. So coming up here in just a little bit, Tanya, we'll talk about the importance of not only the cloud cover, but also what it does to that potential convective energy that spawns those thunderstorms, and an update on the severe thunderstorm risk map, because we do have portions of our county that are going to pop into that for tonight into tomorrow morning.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. All right, thank you, Michael. In public transportation hubs across the country, travelers now have the option to go maskless. Uber and Lyft joined all U.S. airlines and Amtrak saying masks are now optional, while cities like Philadelphia and New York say the mandate will remain in place. The CDC still recommends mask use while traveling on aircraft, but all the major airlines are now trying to figure out what to do about all the passengers previously banned for failure to comply to the federal rule. United Airlines says it's allowing those passengers to return on a case-by-case basis. 2 men accused of posing as Homeland Security agents now face new weapons charges. Prosecutors laid out more evidence against the suspects, who they say gave gifts to Secret Service agents. And those agents are now sidelined for the remainder of the investigation. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge is following the case.
We're about 2 weeks into this case, and there are so many unknowns. The motive, where the money came from, and now a grand jury has brought new charges. The 27-page indictment shows the two defendants, Aryan Taherzadeh and Haider Ali, face multiple counts, including the false impersonation of an officer or employee of the United States and the unlawful possession of a large-capacity ammunition feeding device. In this case, 1 Glock magazine and 5 Sig Sauer magazines. The government alleges the defendants sought to ingratiate themselves with their D.C. neighbors in law enforcement by posing as Homeland Security agents. Prosecutors allege the men had 5 apartments in a luxury building and gifted agents electronics and rent-free units, including a penthouse valued at over $40,000 a year. Earlier this month, the government went further, alleging they compromised U.S. Secret Service personnel with access to the White House. Now suspended, Secret Service personnel assigned to the First Lady, the White House, and the Vice President's residence. Before the new charges, both defendants were released to home confinement pending trial. One defendant had visas for travel to Iran and Pakistan. One of the lingering questions is whether the scheme was designed to collect information for the benefit of a foreign intelligence service. Catherine Herridge, CBS News, Washington.
That's a look at today's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on the KOAM News at noon, pandas at the National Zoo in D.C. celebrate 50 years with a fruit sickle cake. We take you to the party. And later, we're making an egg roll in a bowl in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. The National Zoo in Washington, D.C. is wrapping up a big bear-sized celebration, and its most famous residents enjoyed a cake made of frozen fruits and veggies. As Katie Kuros reports, celebration marks a half-century of panda diplomacy with China.
They're absolutely stunning. I didn't realize how actually big they were, so it's just been awesome, very awesome.
A spring morning stroll for Mei Zhang and her baby Chao Jiji, and a breakfast of fruit and ice cake, celebrating the day 50 years ago when pandas first arrived to the National Zoo.
So I'm sure Caleb is kind of first time at the zoo, and so he's just in awe really right now.
Thousands traveled to visit them this weekend, including Teresa Kinslow, who flew in from Houston with her father specifically for the Pandaversary.
When I was little, they took me to California, and my uncle there gave me a little panda bear, Ling Ling, a long time ago. So with this anniversary, I thought it would be a good time for us to get together and see pandas again.
The pandas are the most popular attraction at the zoo. Their 50 years has improved relations with China, called panda diplomacy, bolstered conservation efforts, and ingrained the bears into Washington's identity.
For me, the birth of Chao Jiji was pretty spectacular. During my entire tenure here, we've tried to have panda cubs, and for various reasons, that we're not exactly sure of, we were not successful. But August of 2020 changed all that, so that was pretty amazing.
Well, the pandas' stay at the National Zoo also represents their success story. In 2021, the pandas were downgraded from endangered to vulnerable status, thanks in part to the attention of millions of people. What's next for the pandas? The current agreement allows for them to continue to live here until December 2023. But the Smithsonian will work to negotiate a new deal with the China Wildlife and Conservation Association before then, in hopes that the panda's legacy here continues for years to come. At the zoo,
The first pair of giant pandas arrived at the National Zoo in April of 1972, a gift from the Chinese premier to then First Lady Pat Nixon. Here's a look at our tower camera, sponsored by R.E. Smith Construction. As work continues on the KOAM More Power project, check out anytime on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com/power. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
If an egg roll wasn't rolled, would it still be an egg roll? The answer is coming up next, and it might just bowl you over. Might.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Let's talk a little bit more about these cool temperatures and the role that they're going to play not only for today but into tomorrow, because what it's done is shifting that severe risk out to our west. So we're going to get rain. That's going to happen. But look at the temperatures as you move from the west to the east right there, pushing close to 70 degrees in Dodge City. And then we've got about a 20-degree difference on our far right-hand side in West Plains. Of course, we fall right in the middle, right along that 60-degree mark as we take a look over 7th and Joplin, and that's why we like the cloud cover right now, because the warmer we get this time of year, the more instability it throws up into that air and the greater the risk of severe weather. And these are still delightful temperatures. While we'll clock in just a little bit below normal today, hard to complain about it, and ranging anywhere from 58 to about 61 on a mid-April noon. Now, let's go ahead. I want to come back here and I want to point out where that dividing line is. Look just to the west of Wichita, in between Wichita and Dodge City, because we see the color contour that dips down with the cooler temperatures all the way into southern Arkansas. So as we reset this map, the reason I do that is to show you exactly where the cloud cover is as well. That's that dividing line that you see. And of course, all the rain that we've had so far on our Wednesday is now pushed off far to our east. But along that dividing line, we also talk about the amount of available energy, convective available potential energy. Also the acronym that we call CAPE. So as we get into that bright orange that you'll see right down there in Oklahoma City, that's an indicator that there's more energy to burn. Not unusual whatsoever that we find ourselves with a little bit hanging over us. Not as high though as what we see from say OKC out to the west down to about where you see the sign for Lubbock. Now, there's also a convective inhibitor. Think of the energy like a bottle of Coke, right? Well, if you shake it up and you pop that top, you know what's going to happen. But as long as that top stays on there, which is what the convective inhibitor is in the blue, it will not pop on you. However, what we are seeing, look down here, we're starting to see that convective inhibitor break from the Red River up to Oklahoma City, and then from Oklahoma City up to the Kansas state line. So that's what we'll keep our eyes on. But once again, that is out to the west of us. And that kind of mimics exactly what we see on the severe thunderstorm risk map. We see it just move a little bit to the east because that's where those storm systems will move. And with that being said, we do find categories of our 4 states in that low category, but it kind of limits that to high winds that we're already seeing right now, and also really kind of slows down our possibility for hail since we find ourselves on the north side of it. So far, so good. Let's reset the Skywatch storm tracker here because things did get a little interesting after the storm system moved out to our east. How about in Greene County up in Springfield? They had hail come down this morning just before 10 o'clock, 7/10 of an inch in diameter. That is relatively impressive. But now as we sit here at 12:17, all we're seeing is some light shower activity move from the northern half of the 4 states, really right across the state line is where we're seeing it right now. But we talked about how important that I-49 corridor was going to be for today as far as the north-south movement, and so that's where that will stop next. Once again, like Tanya said, it's not worth going anywhere without the umbrella because the rain's going to happen. We're just trying to stay away from the threat of anything severe. Little break tonight. Now look at the left-hand portion of your screen. Watch what works in just in that same area where we were talking about the energy and the break that we're seeing in the cap. There it is, rolling right through. Luckily, this thing is trying to break up before it gets to us. And really, by the time Friday afternoon rolls around, we're talking about temperatures that are going to be around 80 degrees with partly sunny skies. So Tanya, once again, if you're interested in watching the radar tonight, we'll keep our eyes on what rolls out of central Oklahoma because it will progress toward us, south to north movement. But right now, we're hoping, and it's looking like it's going to do a good job breaking before it gets on us.
All right, that'd be nice. I know we have a lot of sporting activities the next couple of evenings, so it'll be interesting if they play out.
Well, and you could probably squeeze in mowing the grass.
This evening?
Yeah, you can give it a whirl.
Game on. I got an hour window.
There you go.
All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Corporal Jack Mooney in the U.S. Army. Riverton, Kansas native, joined the 489th Battalion in 1943. Mooney fought in the South Pacific during World War II. To Corporal Jack Mooney, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Well, if you're craving Chinese but want to cut back on those carbs, Howard shows us how to make an egg roll in a bowl. That's what's on the menu today in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Whenever I get Chinese takeout, no matter what I order, it seems like I always add an egg roll at the last minute. I mean, who doesn't love a good egg roll? So let me share with you a dish that we recently came up with that has everything we love about egg rolls without all the work. We start by sauteing some ground pork in a skillet, crumbling it as it cooks. While that finishes up, we mix together some soy sauce, garlic powder, a bit of ginger, and some black pepper. Once the pork is cooked, we add in a bag of coleslaw mix, some cut scallions, the soy sauce mixture, and our secret ingredient, Thai chili sauce. We'll let this cook for a few more minutes until the cabbage starts to soften up. Now, rather than rolling the mixture in egg roll skins and frying them, we simply serve it in a bowl topped with some crispy fried noodles. Or, if we really want to go all out, how about pan frying some wonton skins to serve right along with it? There you have it, the taste and the crunch of egg rolls served up in a bowl for a novel twist. And whether you serve this as a hearty lunch or as a fun change of pace dinner, you can't miss. As always, the recipe for our egg roll in a bowl is online now. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a hen hao wei. That means very good in Chinese. Or, as we say, ooh, it's so good.
We can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Afternoon showers beginning to pop up right now, but remember, do not curse that cloud cover. Keeps us from warming up too much too quickly and reduces that threat of severe weather. And so while we're looking at wind advisories and showers throughout tonight into tomorrow morning, looks like we can keep most of that severe stuff down to our southwest.
That is certainly some good news.
Yeah, for sure. What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, a new experimental blood test hopes to catch cancer in its early stages. And Health Watch, how a liquid biopsy added years to one patient's life. Plus, Miami firefighters are working to save and restore a 73-year-old fire truck. And headed to the lake, well, for some, that means fueling up your truck and your boat. We're going to find out how rising gas prices are affecting a 4-state community that relies heavily on boating for tourism. Hope you join us for those stories. A whole lot more, of course. It's all coming up today on KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.